So tonight, how to get into sailing, and the guys who are and gals who are presenting are going to talk about their personal journey. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time on their bios, but presenting tonight on how to get into sailing, we have Andre Dreger, Jeff Delancey, Floyd Puschelberg, and Christine McCartney. So guys, come on up. Thanks for coming, and we look forward to your presentation.
As Jeff was saying, it's so great to have some people who want to hear about what we have to say, because we are our new sailors. There's the three of you. Come on up. Because we're going to just show you how three people approached getting into sailing last year. And we are focused at folks who are curious about sailing and would like to try it. They've got some plans to start sailing but aren't too sure how to get into it, or would like to start sailing and eventually buy a boat. So we've got some examples of all those. And it's really to inform, it's part of the sort of the values of this club, is to inform potential sailors that this club is here. The members of this club are here to help people who want to get into the sport and learn it at any pace. And this is sort of taken from the website as part of the mission statement.
So a quick introduction of myself. I'm a retired senior. I live in the area of Crystal Beach, Lakeside. I'm part of the executive of the Crystal Beach Lakeside Community Association. I live with my darling wife, my much better half, Kimberly, and we share the house with our dog, Frankie. I now enjoy sailing. Have always been cycling, have always been playing hockey, and I'm trying out curling this year too. Andre?
Hey, yeah, my name is Andre. I moved to Ottawa about 2.5 years ago now. I'm originally from Alberta. Not a lot of sailing there. But yeah, it's something I've always wanted to do. I've always been very interested in it. And yeah, I moved here for work. And as soon as I moved here, I kind of heard from people that they're sailing here and stuff like that. And so looked into it, and yeah, I tried it out for the first time last year, and had a really good time. Had you know, found it was all the programs, everything was really straightforward and nice to sign up for and to get into, and yeah, yeah, and a bit more about myself. You know, I still enjoy hiking, cycling, swimming, and tennis, and looking to add sailing to those things.
Hi there, Christine McCartney, and my other half, Floyd Puschelberg, and we have been, I guess we started sailing in January, so we've kind of went from zero to boat owner in 10 months or less, and it's been quite a ride. So really enjoyed it. We both love being out on the water for varying different reasons. I mean, Floyd's very technical and very good at all of that kind of stuff, and I'm sort of nature girl and love all the wind in my hair and all of that. So we approach it from very different perspectives, but have really both taken to it like fish to water. We've been in the Ottawa area, I guess, for 40 years. What else? Done a little bit of sailing, not a lot. Both Floyd and I have you know, dabbled in it, had some experiences out on the water, but this was really new to sort of really learning the whole field of sailing. And Floyd, I don't know, he's got some big news next week. What's happening next week, Floyd? Come on up.
I'm quitting work. I'm retiring, so this is part of the plan, and the plan's being fulfilled. So I do look forward to tonight telling our stories to you, and so hopefully it'll help you out. And for the folks who've been sailing for many years, they can go back, oh, that's how they got to do it, because there's a few people here, which we will point out and embarrass during our talk, who helped us get to this point today. So, Andre, I think you're up.
Yeah, so a bit more about my story. So yeah, originally from Edmonton, Alberta. I'm 31. I always had a keen interest in activities in the water. Was part of the rowing club throughout my university years. And yeah, you know, sailing is kind of the next thing to try out. And yeah, so I took the basic cruising class last summer as my first introduction to sailing. and really enjoyed it. I followed it up with Thursday Sail Share Racing, and had a great time too. Interacting with other sailors, making friends, and collaborating as a team for sure. I think you learn right away that sailing is like a team sport, and that part of it's very cool for sure. And yeah, I think that's it for my story for now.
Thanks, Andre. I could pretend I can do this without notes, but I can't. So my story, although I grew up, my parents had a cottage, none of us sailed. So moving to the Crystal Beach community, which we did just ahead of COVID, I knew very little about the Nepean Sailing Club. My exposure to the club was walking my dog either out to the lighthouse or over to Andrew Hayden Park. So the closest I got to sailing was just watching the boats on the river. I wasn't inclined to joining a sailing club. My perception is that it was for the very rich. That yachts cost hundreds of thousands of dollars and membership fees were thousands of dollars per year. To paraphrase an old saying, how do you end up as a millionaire with a boat? Start with $2 million. But it took a neighbor, a non-sailing neighbor, who talked to us about the live music and, in her case, the trivia night that she attended, and it enticed my wife and I to come over and visit. And soon we joined up as social members, and we would come over to basically use the restaurant. We enjoyed going the restaurant. We enjoyed particularly sitting out in the patio. My Kimberly loves watching the river and feeling the wind through your hair. And we were watching the sailboats in the harbor. So of course we started chatting, and if there's anything, this sailing club is full of very friendly, very chatty people. It's great. And we learned more about sailing, and we learned more about the club. Specifically, how a lot of members volunteer to help the organization, and the big aspect is a volunteer organization. As a year ahead of Floyd, I retired, and I was looking for things that I was going to do in my time, and I thought, well, it would be important to help out the sailing club. It's a big part right in my community. And it would also be an opportunity for me to get some exposure to sailing and learn how to sail. So I reached out to the club, and I was directed towards Advantage Boating. Advantage Boating operates out of both this club and Britannia, and it offers both onshore and on-water training. So I signed up in the spring of last year and took my theory or courses by Zoom, and finished up around June. Unfortunately, at that time, I found out I was going to have a small operation, so I had to postpone my on-water. So I decided to write my theory, write the written exam for Sail Canada, which I was successful, thankfully. After I got the all clear from my surgeon, I signed up to get the water training on the water. And my instructor was Mike Roper, and Mike is a member of this sailing club. I took the lessons with a couple of other folks, Steve Gibbons and Janice Rail. And on our 4 days on the Ottawa River, on the July 1st long weekend, included 1 day of no wind, which was a foreshadow for last season's sailing.
And smoke.
And smoke. But after receiving my Sail Canada cruising certification, I was eager to get some sailing experience. Mike Roper recommended that I put my name on the crew list, which is operated by the Nepean Sailing Club. And quite quickly, I was contacted by Henry of Bordeaux, the skipper of the Ulysses. And I started racing with Henry on Thursday nights in the jam race. And it was at that racing that I had the good fortune to meet Floyd, who, so we were both crew members for Henry and raced every Thursday. Also, in mid-July, I signed up for the Nepean Sailing Club social sailing group run by Tim Moses. Thank you, Tim. So this is a fantastic way to get more experience on the water. It's a fantastic way to meet skippers and other crew members. And I have to say, the people here are very generous at their knowledge transfer. They're very helpful in teaching novices like myself, so I'm very patient. They often would let me be at the helm, which is pretty exciting for a rookie. We'd have a debrief afterwards, which was just a fun, social, get to know everybody, and it was a wonderful experience. Later in the summer, I was also picked up for an afternoon racing called Rust, which is a little less competitive than the Thursday nights, a little more relaxed way of racing, and finished up racing both in Rust and in the jam race on Thursdays. So in conclusion, last year was delightful. I was very happy to be part of the sailing community. I was delighted to discover that you, in fact, do not need to be a millionaire to enjoy the sport, but a simple retired pensioner can enjoy it. I really enjoyed the advantage boating training. I think so we're going to speak to that a little bit more. It was informative, it was friendly, it was a fun experience. I really enjoy all the additional experience I've gotten and all the advice I've received from both skippers and other crew members. And yes, at the very beginning I was going to volunteer, and I did. I started my volunteering last fall. I joined the race committee, so that was a great experience one night. It's one of the things, again, you just learn more about the racing side. And I have, this winter, I've joined the PR committee and the tech team, and I want to give a big shout out to Mark, and Richard, who are running the show tonight. Thank you.
So Christine and I are up next, and we broke our talk into about 5 segments. We're going to talk about the start of the journey, what I called inquiry and outreach. Christine's going to take over and talk about the learning to sail. We've heard a little bit about that, the theory courses, the afloat training. We've heard some of the things about that, the test and certification stuff. And then really the meat, when we really got into it, in through social days, cruising and racing, and through the crew bank, some of the stuff that Jeff and Audrey talked about. And then later in the summer, we started thinking about maybe we should buy a boat. And so that experience and some of the things that we learned on how to do that and our good fortune. And then the continuation of the journey as part of tonight, joining the volunteer in the different committees, and the continuation and looking forward to next year. So on that note, I will go to that, I think. Or is that mine? No, it's mine. Actually, I was wrong. Okay. So this journey started about a year ago, where I was thinking about retiring. And I picked up a book that my wife had bought for me a few years earlier when she retired, and it was How to Retire Happy, Wild, and Free. And so I was reading through this book, and it's like all the things you need to do. You need to have a plan. It's not just about the money. It's about what are you going to do, how are you going to be fulfilled. And I started looking at this. You could do all these things. You could travel. Well, we do tons. Anybody knows us? We do tons of travel. You can't travel all the time. I mean, well, maybe you can actually. I don't know. I'm not sure. And so I started thinking, okay, what could you do? So look at all these things. You could golf. You could do this. You could do that. And I thought, all of a sudden I saw this word sailing, and all of a sudden I had these flashbacks to when I worked at Nortel down the street 40 years ago, and all of my colleagues, they had boats and they sailed here, and people I knew. And I thought, I can't afford that. Just like Jeff's like, this is for rich people. I can't do it. And so 40 years ago, I started sailing dinghies through, I think it was the RA Club on the Ottawa River and through Dow's Lake. And so I sailed dinghies for a couple summers. And I thought this was pretty good. And then we were on vacations, we'd sail dinghies and catamarans, but nothing sort of any bigger than that, no keel boats. And so 40 years later, I was saying, I was sort of reading this book and I saw this word sailing, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I thought, what the heck? This could be it. This could be the thing. But so how do I figure out if this is something we want to really sink our teeth in? So I started contacting friends and colleagues. I started thinking about how to approach this. I started sort of broad reaching. This is sort of the way my brain works, kind of scattered. I reach all kinds of things. I sort of did at the club, websites, and things like that. And then one night we were working downtown with Paul Wagner, and he was out at the patio having a beer after work. I think it was like 2:30. No, it was, sorry, just well, it was Monday. It was almost the weekend. It was Monday. So he was there, and I said, "Oh, this is great. I'm pretty sure Paul sails." And after contacting millions of other people, I just sat there with Paul. I moved over and said, "Paul, you're a sailor, right? How does this work? How do you get into this sport?" And he told me about the club and sort of how it worked. And I said, "No, but how do I learn how to sail?" And he said, "Advantage boating." So I looked him up, and sure enough, that was sort of the ticket in through the front door to learn about sailing. So I signed up to that. And then also I learned a lot from Paul about, come on, Paul, how expensive is this crazy sport? And so what I learned was that most of the boats at Nepean Sailing Club, what someone said, they're they're Toronto boats that have come to die here at Nepean Sailing Club, because most of the boats out there are 35, 40 years old. So they're, from a upfront cost to buy a boat is, this is going to be less expensive than I thought. And I started looking at the club fees. I said, yeah, this is probably feasible, but first I should probably figure out if I actually want to do this. So that was the start of putting the plan together last January. And starting to figure this out. And so the approach is, how do you do it? For me, it was just about reaching out to everybody I knew who sailed, to learn a lot about that. We came down the club last year to some of these sessions to see if this was like a lifestyle that we wanted to do. And looking back, the only, I think, regret I have is that I probably should have started this years ago. But again, I needed that realization through this book, reading the book and saying, this is something I think I want to pursue, and it's sort of be something I want to do when I retire. So finally, I was talking over with Christine about the sailing idea, and she goes, "Oh man, that's great. That's great." I said, "Really?" "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it." She said, "Because I was afraid you were going to say you wanted to go golfing, and then you'd be on your own." So that sunk the deal. So I think that's, there you go.
Yeah, no golfing for me. All right, I'm just kind of curious before I launch into things, just a quick poll. How many here have been sailing for 10 years or more? Raise your hands. Okay. How about quite a few, especially over this 5 to 10 years? No, 1 to 5? Okay, a few. And how many are here that are considering getting into sailing, considering it, thinking about it? Okay, a number. Awesome sauce. How many here were badgered into coming by a loved one? Truth be told. All right. Anyway. So anyway, our goal is certainly to just share some of our experiences in getting into it and what it's been like and the process that we went through. So for me, I thought there was really kind of 3 things that helped us move into the whole sailing realm, having been novices. I mean, all I knew about sailing from my experiences a couple times out on a boat was basically, bow and stern and starboard and port, and don't go below deck in big waves unless you want to revisit your lunch. So, starting, from ground zero, really, and I think that the first step was certainly to enroll in some kind of formal training. We did ours through Advantage Boating. Number 2 was to pass the afloat assessment and the exam. And number 3 was just to, start venturing out there on your own and continuing the whole learning process, because it really is I think it's a lifetime process, actually. So I'm just going to kind of go through each of those 3 steps. Starting with enrolling in formal training, I would just sort of a shout out commercial for Advantage Boating. They were really, really good in giving us that first baseline foundational knowledge of information, skills, knowledge to sail a boat safely. And to learn all about the from the weather to the terminology And just the parts of a boat, like I was blown away. There was over 50 different parts of a boat that we had to learn. Everything from, you know, pintles and gudgeons and tangs and boom bangs and turnbuckles and you know, like, oh my God. And, you know, pull on that rope there. Well, that's actually not a rope. What is it? Well, the thing that's attached to the sail, that's called a sheet. Oh, okay, sheets. And what about this other thing, these other, you know, ropes that are used for the, you know, for the rubber bumpers on the side of your boat? Well, those aren't actually ropes either. Those are called lines, and lines are attached to, actually, bumpers aren't bumpers. What are they called? Fenders, right? Holy crumb. So there's a whole different language that we were really learning about in order to be able to sail. And the thing was, you think, oh, you know, why do I have to know 50 different boat parts? Well, you had to be able to know all this stuff in order to be able to communicate with the crew, right? You have to know the lingo. If you don't know the lingo, you're not, yeah, anyway, you know. So how about, for instance, there's another one, life jacket. What's a life jacket called? The life jacket called? Who knows? Who's got it? PFDs, right, personal flotation device. Here's another one. How about a paddle? You know the paddle that you carry in case your motor craps out and your sails and there's no wind? What's a paddle called? Who knows? Manual propelling device. Thank you very much, Greg. You got it. You got it. So anyway, so that was quite a whole new language to learn and navigate. And it was funny because at this stage, I think I was having a bit of a freakazoid. It was like drinking out of a fire hose, you know, learning it all. And at one point, I wasn't even sure that I could do it. And I found particularly the points of sail were really tough concepts to grasp, very, very tough. And I think the pterodactyl in the ointment was watching my husband just get it like a piece of cake, you know. So it made sense to him, but it was not making sense to me. But the good part was, Floyd was very reassuring, as were lots of other people saying, you know what, just hang in there. It'll all come together once you get out on the water. Really? Okay. And they were right. So trust in the process, right? It does take some time to learn all of this stuff. And some people come by it easier than others, but you can get there. So once we did some online training. I think it was one night a week starting in January. That's when we first started this through Advantage. One night a week with an instructor. A number of other people were in on the call, and you went over all of these, you know, terms and the weather and safety and all those things, just kind of getting your dipping your toes in the water. So the online piece was kind of good. Again, it was just a lot to take in, but a good orientation to it. And then step two, a part of this was to take the afloat training. So we were out, I think it was twice a week on a 22-foot sailboat with Advantage, and the instructor, and this is where we first met Andre, and we went out rain or shine twice a week for those 3 hours. So that was kind of the litmus test to whether we could do this or not. And we were pretty nervous on night one, nervous but excited to be going out, and very, very happy to learn that our instructor was an absolutely excellent trainer. He was calm, he was unflappable, a great demeanor, and he put us at ease immediately, which I think for me is an admirable skill when you've got a boatload of novice sailors who have no clue what they're doing. So great instructor, and he happens to be sitting over there in the corner of the room. Raise your hand, Greg. Greg Pillsworth. Yep. Anyway, thank you, Greg. Greg also had eyes like a hawk. So no matter what minuscule move we made, right, Andre? Greg would notice everything, everything. So whether it was something that you were doing well or something that needed to be improved. So basically, you know, we first started that night one practicing all the basic maneuvers, basically just motoring out of the harbor and motoring back in and getting into the slip and getting out and how to use the motor and all of that sort of stuff without incurring a hole in the boat. So, again, Greg was very unflappable in through all of that. And I love what, as a trainer, because this is my background, I spent 30-some years at Nortel in adult learning and facilitation. And so Greg had some absolutely fabulous euphemisms that just made things stick, you know, and that's what's important because you're learning so much, but having some of those euphemisms. So I'll share a couple with you. So on one, I think it was the first night, we were kind of motoring back in, you know, picture Miami Vice's Don Johnson full throttle back into the harbor with the rooster tail at the back. Well, that wasn't really us actually, but Greg did quietly suggest at one point that perhaps we only go as fast as we want to crash. Okay, good advice, Greg. And those words are permanently etched in our minds now. Number 2, trust only the people on your boat. Don't expect other people will either see you or that they necessarily know what the heck they're doing, right? You like to think that, geez, we're novices, we're beginners, but everybody else out there, they're competent, they're skilled. Well, we saw some scenarios where that wasn't quite the case, and we could talk about those over a beer later. All right, so trust only the people on your boat. Number three was my favorite, and it was to be, I know it sounds a little weird, but be passively OCD. Was that what it was, Greg? Be passively OCD, right. So again, our early visions of sailing was, you know, out in the water, wind blowing in your hair, you're, you know, carefree and everything is all good. We're bobbing around on sparkling waters, but very, very quickly realized the level of vigilance that you have to have when you're out there sailing, just to make sure that you're continually assessing what's going on, right? So you're always looking at something. Where's the wind coming from? What's the weather doing? What are the clouds doing? What are the seagulls doing? Which way are they facing? You know, like, oh my gosh, you know, the sails, where are the buoys? Where are the markers? You know, where are the shallow areas? Oh, gee, are we on top of Blueberry Island? You know, so all of that kind of stuff, being passively OCD, I think was a critical piece of advice, to make sure that no one's safety was jeopardized. And also the safety of your boat, right? Those are the two main things, right? Make sure you're safe, your boat's safe, and the people that you're crewing. Anyway, that was passively OCD. Never forget it. Lastly, we learned we learned when to respond to other boats in the area. So I was a little bit of a cat on a hot tin roof the first time we were out. And the moment I saw a boat on the horizon, guess what I was doing? I was steering out of the way. It's like, oh my God, there's another boat coming, right? But Greg clarified that this perhaps was being a little bit too passively OCD. Okay. So the question that that he suggested we ask is that other boat near or far? So that was a really, actually simple question, but it was a really good one. So those of you who are seasoned sailors, when is a boat near? How many boat lengths between you and the other boat?
2 feet. Depends if you're racing. Racing.
All right, 2 feet if you're racing. Yes. Arm's reach, okay, that's near, right? All right. 10 boat lengths? Okay, that's sort of what I think. Greg, what would you say? Roughly 10, 15 boat lengths, is that about right? That's near? Okay. Well, it passed on. Oh, you got it. Just like some things with sailing, right? It's all relative, right? So anyway, it stuck with me. Just I thought it was a really good question. So step 2, obtain your Sail Canada cruising certification. This is really a 2-for-1. At the end of your on-the-water training, the instructor will basically make an assessment that determines whether you can safely and knowledgeably sail a boat or not, right? And then you basically hunker down and you study for the 3-hour written exam. And so that's, you know, again, there's a lot that goes into that, but it really does set you up for success. Advantage Boating had some great prep material. And Floyd and I really looked, there's a book here, we were given called Basic Cruising Skills. It's basically your Bible. It was our Bible. And we learned so much from that. We did all the self-study tests in there that basically illuminate really quickly the areas that you might need to bone up on. So I would certainly, an exam prep tip is to take the time to do the self-tests because they'll really help you in passing that final exam. Once you pass the exam, it's about 3 hours. We can talk to you about that over a beer as well. I had a little anxiety around it. A little might be an understatement, but we did it. And you receive your, the bonus is that you receive your Sail Canada certification, as well as your mandatory Transport Canada PCOC, Pleasure Craft Operator card. So any vessel that has a motor on it, you got to have a PCOC, right? So you get the 2-for-1 on that deal if you go through Advantage. So that was a bonus. Floyd and I think we're still very much beginners at all of this. I think we still have a boatload to learn. There is just so much. But as I think Jeff mentioned, that everybody here at the club has been so, you don't feel judgment. People will encourage you to ask questions, and they're very, very willing to share their knowledge. So that part's been great. So moving then to step 3 is once you've got your certification, you've got the knowledge, you're capable now to venture out on your own and give it a whirl, and you continue just to build on that knowledge. And one of the ways of building on that knowledge is through one of our favorite things was the social day cruising and racing. And, social day cruising. Floyd's going to talk to racing. And it's a great way to explore if you have no boat experience or if you don't have a boat, right? So either way, you've got experienced people who are willing to take you out for, 3 or 4 hours on a Friday afternoon or Saturdays too sometimes, I understand, right? So, so these folks are really, all the people that Floyd and I experienced this summer were absolutely fabulous in sharing, knowledge, sharing their stories, answering questions. And the cool thing was they got you involved. Like, Jeff, you mentioned, they let you get behind the helm. I forget whose boat I was on that first social sail day. But when they said, here, Christine, here, take the helm, I'm like, what? Oh my God, I can't. But sort of, okay, all right, I can do this. So that was really good to have that encouraging group of people. So all you have to do, if you're a newcomer and you haven't done this before, you go to the Nepean Sailing Club website, you sign up, and you show up on the day with basically a weather-appropriate clothing, a water bottle, and the third thing, a hat that you're prepared to lose, because a few of mine reside at the bottom of the Ottawa River. So one last tip, the learning curve is really steep. Be patient and gentle on yourself. It'll all come, and then the comfort will come as well. So thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about the racing program, and I first got into this, I thought, I don't want to do racing because, people are going to be yelling at me because I don't know what I'm doing, and they're going to be rude, and I don't need that. I thought, you know what, I got to try it. So I signed up on the crew bank, and that's where I met Jeff, and we got picked up by a very calm skipper, Henri, and there was 2 other partners in their boat. It was a CNC 27. I didn't know what even CNC 27 was a year ago, but now I do. And we started racing with those guys, and there would be 5 people on the boat, and it was just such a great way to learn how to sail, because when you, social day sailing's great, you learn how to sail and stuff, but when you're racing, it's all about the timing, it's all about the teamwork. So Jeff would be on, what's the left side called? Port? Okay, right, whatever, I forgot all the terminology, but he'd be over there, bringing it in, and I'd have to coordinate my time with him, and then we'd look back at Andre, how did we do? And he'd, good work, boys, keep going, so it's a really great way to learn how to sail, because it is competitive, but there are a lot of friendly folks up there. If you sign up in the crew bank, there's racing every night of the week, so you'll get called out to do it. You don't have to be a member to try it, to see if you like it. It's a great way to learn. Usually we come here, what's fascinating, we meet at like 5:45. Everybody meets on the boat, and the first couple times it was a bit odd, but after a couple times, we all knew what we had to do to get that boat ready to race. And we'd have that boat sails up, ready to race in about 15 minutes, because we just all put it together, and we were out, and all of a sudden you just see this party of boats coming out of Britannia, out of Nepean, all setting up for the race. So that was super cool, and then the race would start, and it was just intense for about an hour. I just loved it. It was so great. And you'd be done the race, and you'd all be like congratulating, how did we do? I think we did pretty good. Yeah, it was great and stuff. And then, you'd break out either on the boat, a little, maybe, some snacks or some drinks, or you come back and have some drinks and debrief about that. So it's got that adrenaline and then the relaxation afterwards. Another thing with racing, you can sign up on the volunteer, and I talked about in a couple of slides about for the race committee. And so I did that a few times too. So you're on the boats out there, on the race committee boats, and you actually get to see the race set up. So it's actually even a better way to learn how to race, because you see how all the boats are setting up on the start line. Yeah, and then once you get sort of signed up, I am quite sure that Jeff and I, and hopefully Andre, will be together with Jeff and Andre, with Henri and his team next year racing on Thursday nights. Because once you get some crew working all together like that, I'm sure we're all going to get called back and do this Thursday nights in the summer. So again, racing is a great way to learn really the techniques of sailing, and it happens every night at the club here. So we had that vision started last year about getting a boat. And so I remember the early days last spring walking through the harbor and looking at all the boats and going, oh my God. There's like all different sizes. There's small ones, there's big ones, there's little ones, there's one with steering wheels, and pillars. This is really complicated. I really don't know anything about this. And so, and then you start realizing you got the factor, not only the different makes, the sizes, the features, and then the ages of these boats. And so you start looking at boats, but again, there's a thread that you're hearing through all the talks here. You just start to talk to the members, and you socialize, and you understand, what because people love to talk about their boats. You understand, oh, that's a Tanzer 22. Oh, that's cool. What does that mean? And so you start to look around. So, and we also were very fortunate because the members took us out. We just asked about their boat, and they said, you want to go for a sail? So we go for a sail in their boat, right? So we got to try a lot of different boats to try to understand what we think we would like to get in a boat. We also signed up for the sail share program through Advantage Boating, so we had boats there that we could also use and take out. So we sailed with Andre a few times and others on that. We through the Jam Racing, I learned about this concept called boat syndication, which is the sharing of a boat. So that was kind of cool. It's like, oh, joint ownership. Never thought of that. That potentially could work. And so we were starting to look at boats, and we saw a boat of Britannia because they have classified ads. This club has classified ads. There's ads, from Toronto all over the place, and I thought, I don't really want to be bringing a boat in from Toronto. I'm trying to find one locally here. So we're looking at a boat, and my friend John Tutton, which I went to university with, has a boat here. He sailed for many years, and I said, John, what do you think about this boat? It was a Beneteau 27, I don't know what it was, Beneteau boat. Oh, that's a nice boat. He said, what, you want to buy a boat? I said, yeah. He said, well, why don't you buy ours? We might want to sell it. So I called him. I said, John, how much and when? Because it had everything we wanted on it. And when do you want to sell it? We'll take it. So 2 days later, he wrote back and he said, well, maybe we could just split it. And I went, John, are you serious? Because this guy's been sailing for years, John and Eleanor, which we know. And it was a boat that we thought we would really like. And so I said, John, there's so much upside on this for us because we're going to learn so much from you. And I said, what's in it for you? And this is where the sort of the thing is that if you share a boat, it's less work and cost. You have that time, like John and I spend a lot of time working on it. We're both really handy, so it's a bit of a hobby aspect, and it's a great way to learn. And for John, it's the same thing. Also, now he can share some of the responsibility of the boat. So the trick is to get a good relationship with the party you might want to share a boat with. There's a couple things about getting a survey, which is sort of someone looking through the boat, make sure to evaluate it, and you need that for insurance purposes also. And also the club does support syndication of boats, so it's a common known practice. So I highly recommend it if you're thinking about one, sharing it with someone, because it's a lot of work, a boat, and also just that whole notion that most of the time the thing's sitting there bobbing away in the water. And so this will be our big first summer about sharing it, but we've got a shared calendar. We have discussions. We had dinner with them the other couple weeks ago, and we'll figure it out, and when we're gonna use the boat.
You're on Team Hunter?
We're the Team Hunter, yes. Yeah, you get branded, yeah. So I guess in summary, if you're thinking about getting a boat, just try everybody else's boat. People here, like, really, I sailed at Britannia, I sailed here, and just people, they're really proud to take you out on their boat and tell you all about it. So it's a good way to learn about what kind of features and things you like. And there's also this other phenomenon you've never heard about it. It's called footitis. So people tend to start at 20 feet, and then they go, oh, I want a 23, and I want a 24. We never went through that. We just went large right away. We just got a big boat. We got a big yacht, so we went all in. Okay. So the last part of our talk before we wrap up is this club. I think I might have the numbers wrong, but I think there's only 3 people that work here. I believe everyone else are volunteers. And so, how many? How many people work here? More than 3. Okay. Well, yeah. More than 3. Okay, more than 3. But it is this place. This place runs on volunteers, right? And so, for me, sort of looking at what, when I retire, some things I want to do, it's a great way to find some new activities. You can get involved. You make new friends. You get your fellow sailors, and you get a lot of satisfaction from volunteering. So, like Jeff, I joined the PR committee, helping out on the Wednesday speakers series, setting this up on the tech team, posting stuff on the website. I'm doing some of that now. But there's also, I mentioned earlier, if you go to the website, you can see there's volunteers needed for the race committee, and that's a lot of fun because you're out on the water, and you're going to see how all the races set up, and you get a free beer afterwards too, which is really kind of handy. There's the adaptive sail program where they help people with disabilities sail. They have, I think, 5 special boats for people with disabilities. That's another program you can get involved in to give back to the community. There's a sail training program. I don't know a lot about that one, but you can find about it on the website. The Commodore committees. So Christine and I volunteered with Paul Wagner on the haul out last year. So there, Christine, she's in her happy spot. She's got her clipboard and she's got her megaphone and telling people when to get their boats over. And meanwhile, I was after the first haul out. Paul called me aside and he said, "Floyd, once they start lifting the boat out of the water, don't be underneath it."
Only one rule, Floyd.
Yeah, you said you've got your hard hat on, but it's not gonna. So I was sitting there looking at this boat's over my head. It's like, well, there's the water. I can dive into the water. Paul says, Floyd, you need to get out of there. So, but this is part of like the social part of the club of helping to get the boats out. As mentioned in the social committee, and then there's another charity that they will need a boatload of. I like that expression, boatload. They'll need a boatload of volunteers coming up for the Bring on the Bay charity, which is a swim from here over to Britannia. So this is all found in that link there. Did you two want to do the wrap up?
Start?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll need you closer to the mic.
Yeah, so the Pinion Sailing Club on Ottawa's West End is really such a kind of a hidden gem, open to the public, and yeah, it's such a nice venue here. Really, like in the summers, it's nothing really else, rather do than be sailing. It's just really nice. And yeah, you don't need to own a boat to sail. I sailed this year with the sail share, and with the Thursday night racing as well, open to sail share. I learned a lot.
And next year with us?
Yeah, next year, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And yeah, really good way to just learn and continue after the basic cruising. And yeah, I didn't have a membership when I started. I just joined the lessons and kind of followed through with there. And yeah, then there's the social membership as well to meet other sailors and enable crewing and stuff like that, as Jeff's story goes. And yeah, I really enjoyed the social aspect as well, having beers after sailing. Just a lot of fun, just really enjoy the nice weather here. So yeah.
So we all had very positive experience with Advantage Boating as our trainer. They were informative, fun experience to learn. You're learning with other rookie sailors. Again, just reinforce members, skippers, crew staff at the Nepean Sailing Club are welcoming, helpful, and willing to help get new folks into sailing. There really is a knowledge transfer that there, and as other presenters have said, every skipper is really proud of his boat and just happy to show you, and it's a great way to get some experience. Syndicate ownership is an affordable way to get into owning a sailboat. I don't think anyone's actually mentioned a price, but it wasn't the hundreds of thousands. I was told that you could comfortably get in for, yeah, 10,000 would get you a pretty good boat. And it's not going to be brand new, but it'll get you sailing. There is a no boat, no problem, the P&A Sailing Club link that you can get started. And finally, we can't wait to launch. I think we're 80 odd days away for till the boats are back in the water. So really appreciate everyone showing up and listening to our presentation, and we're certainly open to any questions, inquiries you may have.
And guys, thank you. It's so great to relive kind of that entry point that you all did, and it brings back so many memories. And I think some of us, we have a concierge or someone who kind of guides us through. Some of us take very much the academic route and learn, and I think it's so wise to do that, but certainly a lot of effort. Some of us go a little more by gut, like the jazz musicians do, sort of, versus the orchestra. But I think going the route you did with Advantage is really a great endorsement. But I'd also remind folks that we have the dinghy bank program as well, where you can take out small boats from the club. So there's information on the website. But you know, maybe what was people have mentioned the cost issue as being a bit of a misconception that's out there. And I think that is indeed the case. You can get, I think, a 10s or 22, which is a great day sailor, for 5,000, even less. And we have probably almost 100 of them here. Great boat, made originally outside of Montreal. But maybe what was some of those other misconceptions, or that got you kind of, you had to get over? You know, what was the main one that kind of got you out there?
I'm happy to start on this one, yeah, because certainly I thought, you know, there would be a money issue, but what I have discovered, and I'm a crew member, I have yet to get a boat, but the reality is that sailing is a very social thing, and there are tons of skippers who would enjoy having some crew out on their boat. I'm fortunate that I'm retired, so that makes me available in the afternoons and whatever. But the reality is that it is something, and you're absolutely right, the formal training is not a requirement, and you could simply start coming out. And one shout out to Tim Moses and his social cruising. You don't even have to be a member of the Nepean Sailing Club. It's literally just get your name in there, and it's a great way to you know, have your first experience on the water and maybe get a spouse or a partner out and see if they enjoy it.
I'll just be really honest. I'm retired. I'm getting older. I'm not quite as spry and spring chicken as I used to be in my 20s and 30s. We won't give any clues as to my age, but retired. And I actually had some, I don't know if they were misconceptions, but just concerns that I could physically handle the aspect of sailing as a woman, right? Floyd is very, you know, he's strong, he's able to lift things, do things, sails. The stuff is heavy, and it weighs, and you have to really yank on some of those chains. And, you know, anyway, there's, you know, body parts that are kind of breaking down here and there, and I was really worried about that. But now at this stage, I think we've kind of figured out certain roles and, you know, what I can do and what I can't. And some of those misconceptions, I think we're gonna I'm gonna be okay. So I'm just hanging in there and trying to be safe and careful, but it's not as arduous as I thought it might be as a woman. So, yeah.
I'm just gonna share one thing. So you come from home, we live close by, which is nice. You come down here, get on the boat, you get it all ready, you get out of the harbor, and all of a sudden you're in the water in the lake, and it's magical. Like, just looking back at the land, you're floating in the water, the wind is taking you up the river, with all these other sailboats, and then the sun has started to set. It is just it's a really surreal experience, and we're so fortunate to have this ability to go sailing so close to where we live. So that was one of the, I didn't realize how lovely it was out there on the water looking back at the city. So, and this year, we're looking forward to Canada Day, to be out on the boat in the evening and watching the fireworks from our boat, looking downtown with the whole pile of friends and family on the boat. So these are going to be some of the untangible things that we didn't realize that are going to happen as a result of this sort of this new experience.
I was just going to ask a follow-up question. Your comment about some of your anxieties. So my wife and I started sailing 3 years ago, and one of the things that maybe I'd like you to talk about is what it's like for a woman to be sailing. Like, is there have you found anything here in the club to help you on that journey? I know there's like racing nights for ladies only on certain nights, and maybe talk about that for some of the ladies in the audience who might think this is a guy thing, which it's not.
No, it's not. I confess that I don't have a competitive bone in my body, so I cannot speak to the racing. I don't know if anyone here can as a woman. Certainly happy to jump in. So for me, I'm nature girl, right? I'm out there just to, more for the pleasure of it than the technical racing aspect of it. So, maybe next year I might be more adventurous and try some of these things, but for the moment, I'm just kind of happy. There's still so much to learn, right? I think I was talking with Greg tonight. One of the things that I'm still I don't feel competent at yet, and I guess it's just maneuvering that boat around and coming into the harbor, right? People say that is the hardest thing to do, and you've got a whole audience sitting out there on the deck watching, right? And you've got about this much space between you and the boat beside you, and so some of those things are still have my heart racing, and I always sort of pass the helm over to Floyd and say, you do it. I would like to be able to, at the end of next summer, say, I can do it. And I've been talking to Greg to see if maybe I could get some lessons and sharpen up and hone up my skill at being able to motor in and motor out on a windy day without getting a hole in the boat. So we'll get there. But those are some of the things that have my heart palpitating. So.
Thanks, everybody, for the presentation. I wanted to just ask a quick question about the sail share. I'm familiar with, the concept. I did take the Advantage boating course a few years ago, but unfortunately, when I was ready to actually do the sail share was around the pandemic, and they were still doing it, but you needed to have someone in your bubble because you needed two people that have the training. So now, thankfully, that's behind us. Are you basically building your own kind of network of friends to go out and take a sail share together, or does the sail share basically you both, like two people that have the training, sign up together? How do you actually manage to get someone to go sailing with you?
Yeah, I can answer that. I think it is a bit of a challenge for sure. I think I faced the same issue you did. I kind of didn't know too many people who also did the sail share program. Doing the Thursday night racing helped. I got to meet some people too who also just finished their lessons and are also looking for somebody to go sailing with. But yeah, I agree. I think having like maybe like a pool of people who are also looking for to rent out a boat, and maybe have like a meeting, kind of like of all of them, maybe one day on the weekend or something like that, and just get to know each other, and yeah, that could help out.
So you need two skippers or two trained people to take a boat out. So I'd call Andres, who would go out, or Christine and I would go out with others. And then a couple times I just spammed everybody. I said, hey, listen, I want to go sailing this week. Anybody else want to go sailing? And I got 3 or 4 people wanting to go back. So I sailed with people I had never met before. So you can just spam everybody and just see if they want to go out. So it's doable. And then you find out also that there are a bunch of folks who do the boat sharing thing with them, and then they have patterns. So it takes a while to develop that, but it's feasible. Yeah, but like Sandra said, the racing, the crewing, and the social share, you can, or social cruising, you can get a lot of sailing and just doing it that way also. So, yeah.
I just want to speak to the whole idea of the strength of women on sailboats. I'm 76 and I sail in catamarans. But I must say, in the winter time, I make a point of spending time in the gym to keep myself strong. Otherwise, come summer, I won't be strong enough. So, and the other thing about women on sailboats, a lot of what looks like it takes strength is actually what you need as leverage. So it's not always a question of being as strong as your husband, you know. I mean, I can, I'm quite capable of still leading out.
Thank you guys so much for sharing, and I hope we can get an update at some point on your journey, because you're just getting going. And maybe we'll see you up at Constance one of these Canada Days, where you get all kinds of fireworks as well. And once again, thanks so much. It was great. Thank you, guys.